My name is Bea Cordero. I'm a science communicator. Many years ago, I did a PhD in organic chemistry. So I did a little bit of research myself, but then I changed completely and I went to work at a company. Specifically, I worked at the regulatory affairs department for about 2 years, more or less. But a little bit later, I changed again and did a master's in science communication. I wanted to try something new, something I've always wanted to try. So I did the master's, and then I began working at Eduscopi, and I've been working here for around 5 years now. And my main tasks in Eduscopi are, I'm in charge of the creativity projects that we do. Everything is about science for us. And also, I'm also leading many educational projects inside Eduscopi. I think we still need someone to mute. Please just make sure that you're muted. And I will begin sharing my screen after this little presentation. So I need to share sound also. Great. You see my screen. And I will talk a little bit more about what we're going to do the 11th of February, the Scientificas project, and we'll go through the main objectives. Nuria has already explained a lot about the project, but very simple. The main objectives are they are going to meet a scientist, female scientist, and that is you, and that's the most exciting thing for them. Be sure of that. Through your visit, they will discover the research you do. And I know some of you don't do research, you work at a company. They will discover what you do in this company and what science it involves. Also, something else we want to do with this, with your visit, is we want to break stereotypes. I will go further on this subject in a few minutes. And also, last but not least, we want to spark curiosity of the students in science. So what have we prepared? Nuria has already explained a little bit about this. We've prepared here on the right side, you see a didactic proposal for the schools. They will use it. I will talk right at the end a little bit about this. They will use it as a follow-up for your visit. We're proposing activities before your visit, during your visit, and after your visit. I'll talk about it later. And like it says here, you have a template at your disposal that you can use. This template I will show you later. It's a PowerPoint, and you can, you have different options. You can use it, you can download it and use it, or you can use it as an inspiration. We propose some themes that you can, some subjects you can, or points you can make during your visit. And if you think they would be interesting for your talk, then feel free to use them. We cannot recommend more that you use our topics. So apart from the main objectives, the Scientificas program aims also to convey these messages. They are in the didactic proposal, and we want to share them with you also. And the first one being you don't have to be special to do science. There are many types of profiles of professionals and of people working in science. And we want to show this diversity, like I think Nuria also talked about that. And that's also the reason why you have different profiles yourselves. Furthermore, we also want to them to get the message that everyone can use science reasoning. You don't have to be specifically a scientist to use it. It is very useful for any person nowadays. And finally, we also we're sure that through your presentations, one of the things they're gonna take with them is that science never ceases to amaze us. Not only what we discover, but also the path we follow to discover everything that we discover. And we also want many things with this program. Like I said, to show the diversity of the Catalan research ecosystem. Not only will Catalan researchers talk to them, but also foreign researchers working in Catalonia, and also Catalan researchers working abroad. The pandemic situation was a fantastic opportunity to, it made us change the format a little bit. Last year we had to do everything virtual, and that enabled the participation of researchers working abroad. And of course, that this has stayed because it's a great opportunity that we have to seize. And finally, you'll see that I insist on this subject. You can show your workplace, being a lab or an office, a company. It's an opportunity for them to see where we work also, and especially if you work more than just in the lab. But we'll talk about it in a few minutes. So what is our recommendation for your talk? Primary recommendation is that you take 1 hour in total. Of course, any deviation from this, because this is what the teachers will know, you have to talk to the teacher and made another arrangement if you need it. You need a little more time. Just be sure that you talk with the teacher. And what's the first thing you're going to do? Of course, you're going to connect with the class, or I know maybe you will go there in person, so you will arrive. And we've prepared 2 icebreaker questions that I will talk right after this. I think it's 2 more slides. Just to break the ice with the class and have some initial interaction. These questions will be in the didactic proposal, so the teacher will know if they read the didactic proposal. And then we propose for you to make 20 minutes of personal presentation and 20 minutes of research or work presentation. This is an orientation. You don't have to follow strictly. If you think you need 10 minutes personal presentation and 30 research, be completely free to choose this other option. This is just us wanting to emphasize that personal presentation is very important. Like, don't limit it to 2-3 minutes. And finally, it would be a good idea to leave a few minutes for possible students' questions. So, like I said, I know I always have to say the assignation of school researcher are being made at this moment, these days. You will receive an email when you have your assigned school, your school assigned, and you will have the teacher's details, and you will be able to contact. What is it that you can discuss with the teacher? You can go through technical issues. What platform are they going to use? You can actually meet them if they are available and check your mic, see if she can see you correctly. It is very useful for you to solve any technical inconvenience that might appear this day, because it takes time to solve them, and if there's no solution, then it can be a burden during your presentation. You can also ask them how many students do they have, if it's a big class, if it's a small class, and also be aware that sometimes some classes merge and they follow your presentation at the great hall, or whatever it's called in our schools, and that might have an impact on what you do. I mean, if you want to interact with the class, it's going to be more difficult. So it would be good for you to ask this kind of specifics. What else can you ask? You can ask what type of class is it? Is it, can I ask questions? Can I interact with them, or will it mean chaos if I suddenly ask a question? another question you can put is, will the research topic be close to them? I know many of you work, for example, in climate change. That's a subject that nowadays teachers are very sensitive. Well, I don't know, I'm looking for the right word, but they will all know this subject because it's something that they tackle at school. So if that's your case, you're very lucky because you have a fantastic starting point. And also you can ask them, how much are you going to follow the executive proposal? Do I have to be aware of that? But we'll talk about this later. So let's start. The icebreaker question, like I said. I know I have some comments, maybe. I will, every now and then, I will go to the chat box, but okay, it's okay. The icebreaker questions is these two questions. Are you interested in science? Would you like to pursue a career in science? You can ask this to the students and ask the teacher to count the results. They already know how they have to do it because it's in the didactic proposal. They already know we are asking for them to count the girls and boys who answer this question and the non-binary also, if there are some. We've asked them to count this at the beginning and after your visit to see if there's an impact. So I think this, we assume, sorry, no, if you put, I'm not assuming that the session is online, but there are some things that apply only if you're online and I need to say. But of course, if you're going in person there, some things might not apply, like the connection and the technical stuff. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce ourselves. Like I said before, you have a template that you can use. It's linked here, but you will find it linked at the Científicas page. I don't know if because I've seen some Spanish Catalan names, and I don't know if you're here just because they suit you better, or if you're really going to do it in English. But you have the Spanish, Catalan, and English version here, and this is how what the presentation looks like. Looks like this, and like I said, you see there are some recommendations on every slide. You just erase them and put your text and images, and you can use this, you can download this and use it, or you can just use it as inspiration, whatever you find more useful. So, okay, going back here. Okay. So, what are some of the topics that we propose in this presentation? You will see that most of the presentation is about personal topics. You could do what I did at the beginning, that you can present yourself for a little bit, sharing a full screen and not sharing your presentation. If you choose to talk about hobbies and what you do in your leisure time, we recommend you put photos because they will illustrate better what you're explaining. And what we want with this action is to break stereotypes about people working in science and the typical image of us. I mean, this image that here in this first image that I'm clicking, what I did is I just Googled scientist Google. And yeah, this is what the image that it shows of us. Like, we work in a lab, we work with beakers and flasks, and we stare at colored liquids, and we wear coats, and we want them to know more about us, that there are other sides of a scientist, because we want to show the personal side of the scientist, to make to go near to them and become more what they experience at everyday life is. Like at the end, we want to say we're normal people, we're just like them, and you can become a scientist, just like I did. We also put 2 videos here with the cultural or pop input they get from TV and movies, which usually often show us as nerds or geeks, or even worse, mad or evil. This might seem a joke, but you will see that then it has an impact on them, because here I'm showing you a poll did in the UK with students around 14, 16 years old. And they were asked, what do you think about science? When you think about scientists, what comes to your mind? You see, the first thing they think it's lab coats. The image is very clear. We all wear a lab. And some of you might think, I never wear a lab when I'm at work. Then show it, because this will break some stereotypes for them. What else did they answer? Experiments, labs. They all think we all work in a lab. So maybe you work in a lab, but you also go collect samples somewhere, you talk to people, whatever you do that can break the stereotype, show it, because it will surprise them. We're experts, we are academic, researchers, innovative, many good adjectives also. They gave names of scientists they know, and they're all men. And what I was saying, they use the words nerds, eccentric, crazy, boring. So the cultural side of it also makes an impact, you can see. And I don't know why, but they think that we'll wear glasses. And also the word men is also here. What we are asking you to do is to delaboratize a little bit and show, I mean, we don't, I mean, if you work in a lab, you can show it, of course, because like when I was a scientist, I worked in a lab. But you also do all the things. Maybe you go collect samples, like I was saying, and maybe you like music, and you can make yourselves look more approachable. And to them, if you show them, I mean, last year we asked them at the final post of the Scientificas, what surprised you? And many were surprised that scientist was a football player. So that's one of the objectives of this first part of the talk. Another thing you can explain is that here in this little photo on the right, you can show that scientists also meet to discuss things. And why do we do conferences? What's the use of them? Because this is a side of a profession that they're not very familiar with. I think I have a question. Is this going to be posted to review after? Yes, it's being recorded. It is going to be posted in the specific website that you can go into. And I don't know if it's going to be sent also by mail. Don't take it that I said that. I know it's going to be in the website, so you can check later for the presentation. And speaking of stereotypes, another one we want to break is like the central one for us, and it's the image, the first image that they have when they think of a scientist. I want to talk about this experiment. It's a very well-known test right now. It was first performed more than 50 years ago, and it's called Draw a Scientist test. It's very simple. They took 5,000 boys and girls back in 1966, and they asked them, draw a scientist. And I mean, this picture here illustrates very well what the results were. A man, I think also wearing glasses, wearing lab coat, working inside a lab. And the results back then were very drastic because of the 5,000 students, only 28 drew a female scientist, less than 1% of them. And absolutely no boy drew a woman. This study has been repeated many times now from the 1966 onwards. And on 2016, meta-analysis was performed with including 80 studies and 20,000 boys and girls. And there's been changes. Like in this graph that I'm showing here, we see this is 1966. These are the second bar are the results of 1985, and this last one 2016. But there's one thing that I have to tell you is that this graph shows the percentage of girls drawing female scientists. So this is only girls. It's a good thing because now more than half of the girls are drawing a woman, but we still have work to do because out of the total responses, only 28% of the students draw a female scientist. So, for example, 9 out of 10 times boys drew a man. And another thing that can be seen from this study is that the image shifts as they grow old. At the beginning, when they're 6, this graph here shows the percentage of students who draw a male scientist. You can see it goes up. So we go from less than 60% here to more or less 80% when they are 16. And this change appears mainly between girls. They are the ones that change this image. And it goes from around 30% or so until 75. So we don't want, as they grow old, they perceive that scientists are men more and more. So that might affect, these are very crucial ages. These are the ages in which they choose what they want to be. And they, at least we want them to know that they can be a scientist if they want. So I'm going, if you remember, I said that you can talk about your hobbies and put some images. What else can you explain? You can also explain, I think someone has an open mic. Sorry, but I can hear it. So if you could mute yourself. So what else can you explain? You can explain how you were when you were your age. This way you will get close to them and they will relate to your experience. And by talking about yourself as a child, you can also explain what things you liked. You see, this is me, of course, and things I liked when I was around 11, and also explain what your experience at school was, because maybe they think I'm not smart enough because I'm not in love with sciences right now, or math is very difficult. And me, I can say I hated math, but I grew to love it in the end. I just need to be a little patient. If you think, and I loved language, and I still do. Philosophy was one of my favorite subjects, and this has proven for me to be very helpful in my career. Especially now that I work in communication, all my inclination towards language has proven very, very useful for me now. And this adds to the science, which is wonderful. If you think your experience at school will be helpful for them, will be interesting, then share it. What we want to convey is that science is an activity for everyone. You can be many ways, and you can be many ways now and then become something else if you're interested. I think I have a question. Yeah, about the study where students ask to draw a team of scientists, would women appear? That's a very good question for another study. I think no. I mean, you're talking hypothetics. If you want by hypothesis, I think one of the most probable things would be like drawing 5-6 scientists, and then I'm sure women would appear. Maybe not like 50-50. I don't know. And also maybe they would ask, if we speculate, what field of science are they in? Like, are they more technical or more nature sciences? But I think they would have to be like, you have to take the older side for them to be able to differentiate in the. A very, very good question. I will see if someone has performed this experiment. So, what more can we talk about? We can talk about our scientific career, but from a biographical point of view. You can explain what sparkled your interest in science. Were there any scientists in your family? Do you admire any female scientists? For example, me, I love the history of science, and I mean, I think Emily de Châtelet is not as recognized as she could be, and as celebrated. And of course, Kathleen Caricó is someone we should all be talking about right now, and someone you can present to them. If maybe you don't want to talk about famous scientists, you want to talk about someone that was your mentor, then go ahead. We just want to take the opportunity to visualize female scientists on this, especially on this day. So what else can you talk about? You can talk about your work, how you work, and who do I work with. You can show your lab, you can show your lab mates, you can show that there are scientists from other countries, technicians, administrative, science communicators, if you're in contact with them. You can also explain that sometimes you have students, so they could go and have to take a student position at some point. I mean, I know even high school students go to professional labs for a stage. So this could be a way for them to know that exists and afterwards search for it. And you can also talk about what we were saying. Do you work with code? Maybe you work at a computer. Maybe you go out and collect samples, and then you have to wear boots. Who knows? Or maybe you work in a security lab and you have to like really dress up for your work. And what we were saying, you can post a photo and explain what everyone does. What we want to show here is that science is teamwork, and for a single research, you need different profiles. And there are many, many ways to get into science. You can do different things. So now again, this technical I'm going to go through technical recommendations. They are mainly for the online version because it's most probable that you will find technical problems here. So if you're doing it online, be sure you're well positioned in front of the camera. Avoid steep angles from up or from down, because it's important that they see your face, because you will communicate far better if they can really see your face. That's why here, right at the end, I put a question mark on face mask. If you have the opportunity, try not to wear one. I know this might not be an option. If it's not an option, it's not a question. I mean, wear the face mask if you're at your work environment, sharing a space with colleagues. But if you're at home or you can find a place, take off your mask so they can see your whole face. Oh, I have it's Manny, this is a very long question. Is this statistically correct that there are more female scientists in life science and physical science and engineering? How to address this concern to school students and encourage them not to hesitate in physical science or life science based on gender? In these subjects, many times the problem is that they don't see it as an option because they don't see many women working in this kind of field. what you can do is show these women, or if you're one of them, talk about your experience. One of the I know that one of the problems here is that they find it more difficult than the other. But seeing someone who has succeeded in that might give them the idea that, I mean, everything, I mean, you have to study, of course, you don't get there without studying, but they have to think that if they want to do it, they are able to do it, they can do it. And there are women that have done this before. But I mean, I don't have the statistics here, like I can tell, but I know institutions like the Barcelona Supercomputing Center and many of the technical universities are doing a lot of effort to attract women to this type of careers. So going back to the technical advices, if you can look at the camera every now and then to guarantee the connection. If you can find a significant frame background for you, for example, if you read from a book, you can put it here, or if you play an instrument so they can see it and say, oh, interesting, she has a guitar, or something like that. But the most important part here is light and microphone. Be sure your face is illuminated. You're not like with any light on your back that might shadow your face. And very, very important, ask if they can hear you correctly. And if you think you can use a mic, maybe like mine or like the Madonna type of mic, better than the computer mic, because there will be echo if you use a computer mic. If you think you can use this, is better they can hear you, and you have to be aware that your class might be practicing listening in English. So you have to avoid any problem that it's not you speaking in English. So of course, when you talk to the teacher, you can ask them for their level of English. Do I have to be very, very basic? Can I elaborate a little more? But let's avoid any microphone problem from the beginning. And for the presentation, you might find that the screens at classes are small, and so trying to write, put as little text as you can, and with a reasonable size, so they can see it. If you're not going to talk about something, don't write it, because they will be hearing you. If you can, don't share your screen all the time, if it's a possibility. And even if you're online, but more if you're present there, be aware of nonverbal language. I don't remember if Maria has said it, but you will have at your disposal a small capsule about nonverbal language that you might find very interesting. And if you're there, consider using a slide passer, so that you're not stuck in the computer or too close all the time to the screen. And very, very important, avoid being monotonous. If you know that might be an issue for you, just pay attention. And every now and then you go, okay, so let's start a new chapter or something. Let's follow, or any kind of intonation that might help you take them back to your speech. And last but not least, most important thing is have fun with this presentation, because this way they will also have fun, and you will convey passion in your research and what you explain. So I see I have, in my case, the talk has already been scheduled and will be initially presential. This is at least, okay, perfect. Yeah. We have these two options, presential or online. The same for me. Moreover, they have told me that they're to, okay, so I see some of you have already contacted the teacher. Perfect. So we go now to the research part. There's still people coming in. Okay, this is the part where you explain your research. So very easy. First point, my research, my work. That means you will explain your field of research and what you specifically do. Or if you work at a company, you can talk about the work you do. Like I said before, not too much text, simple images, something they can understand. And if you can, don't use complicated graphs or formulas. If a graph or a formula is essential to your presentation, be sure to explain it. Because, I mean, don't take for granted that you put a graphic there and they will understand what it means. Because the most probable thing is, if you don't talk about it, is they won't look at the graph. Okay, but there's one thing I can tell you right now, that you're very lucky, because these 2 points that we show here that are very, very important, you already have that. And that is your core message, which is your research or your work, and your target audiences that are teenagers or pre-teenagers. It is very important to know your audience, and sometimes we don't know the age or what kind of audience we're going to have, and we have to prepare something like the definition is broader audience, and this means okay, so everyone, fantastic, but you know what your audience is going to look like. That's very useful. And following this up, now I want you to participate on something, because they already have a perception of what science is as students. And we are asking them also. We're asking them to choose between these adjectives, and we say science is, and they have to choose between these adjectives here. Now I want you to guess, what do you think they will answer? And we're talking about students between 10 to 13, but mainly 11 to 12. So I will share with you, sorry, this is most useful here. Okay, I'm seeing you're talking about, okay, I see a question here. Same thing, they told me they have 2 groups of 27 kids, and they asked me if I could give the presentation twice, or whether they should have a joint class with 50 students. What would you recommend? Do you want, I would, if you know you want to make a very participative session, better 2 separate ones. If you're not, I mean, you're planning to do a question like raise hands or so, if you prefer, just give them one. And if they're giving you the option, if they're recommending something from school, you can take their advice also. But I mean, from my point of view, it will mainly depend on how participative you want to make it. So now I'm going. Oh, you think so? This is because of they don't want to put so many students together. Okay. So poll time. I'm sharing you the voting for this for the question. Yeah, I see that assignations are being made, because I didn't have this kind of questions 2 days ago. So good that you, yeah, but you have 4 groups of 25 students, and they asked you to do the presentation 4 times. In the email of assignation to the schools, it will be face-to-face for me. There is also video calling. It means there will also be a remote connection to the top. No, I don't. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. Yeah, they're asking if I want to. I mean, if for sure, I'm not the coordinator of the program. I mean, I'm just giving an opinion here. I mean, you can talk to Nuria or Patricia about that. But maybe it would be an option for you to do it online, because I don't know if it's a good idea to repeat 4 times. Can we do the voting if we are in the school? You mean like I'm saying, like I'm doing here, like the online voting poll? I will talk about it later. In order to do that, you need the students to have at least a phone. That might be the case that they have a phone for the older ones, but for the ones still at school, maybe they don't have a phone. So if you're there, you can also ask them to raise hands, and it will actually be even faster. But you can ask the teacher, is it a good idea to use the phones? Because this kind of thing, it's very quick also to use it during the presentation, because you just give them a code, but you have to alert the teacher because it cannot happen that they have to look for the phone right at that moment and go to the page. They have to have it prepared. I've seen it made like surprise, use your phones, and it's chaos. So always ask the teacher, is it a good advice? Can I do it? Because I know if you do this voting thing, then you can, you can ask 3-4 questions, then show the results or prepare a little game, and this is fun for them. But you have to guarantee it won't be a chaos. So we'll see your results here. What do you think they think science is? So yeah, we always get similar results. Complicated is like always a big word here. But we also think they will find fun, exciting, useful, creative, surprising. Boring is also quite big. So of course, I'm going to show you something now, and that is that we made the same poll in another project that we have. We have different projects with students, and this is a question we do very often. And so our results with real students, around 500 students, I have them in Catalan, but I will explain. You'll see, you understand this word, it's complicated. It's also the biggest one. But I would say for them, boring is a little smaller than it was for you. And they chose many good adjectives: creative, exciting, fun, surprising, useful. And we also asked them if they found it was important. And it was, they were very convinced that it's very important. So what do we have to focus? What do we take from these results? That we have to make sure they won't find your talk complicated or boring. So we're going to work on that. I have, okay. In my case, the school requested a face-to-face talk, but it has been assigned as a virtual talk. Is a protocol to do all the, no, you can, you can adjust to the school's preferences. What I would do is I would tell the organization, just in case, because I'm answering questions here and I'm not a coordinator. How can we do this poll and the icebreaker questions we are online? It's difficult to really engage students online and then count in the question. Yeah, that's why we ask the students to either the teachers to ask the questions, to count the results. They will know you're going to ask the first ones, the first questions, and they will help you with that. And also, I would say that students and teachers are very used now to this kind of tools, of online tools. So if you think we will discuss this problematic with presentiality or not afterwards, and so we can start with, because I want to put in a question right now, and this is about what you will explain to the students. I've already talked about your personal presentation, and now we're going to talk about how to explain research. So basically, you're going to answer the typical journalist questions that are what, where, who, with whom, when, how, and why. Out of these questions, what do you think, and this time you can just write it in the chat box, what do you think will be more interesting for them of these questions? Any guesses? What? Why? Why? What? Why? Okay. Why? Why? What and how? Okay. How? With whom? Not who, but with whom? Interesting. So, why? Okay. So from our previous projects, it's who the most interesting. You are the most interesting thing about the day. Every time we've done projects with schools, and sometimes they are experienced schools, and we ask them, so can we just can you work autonomously? Like we have many requests, and you have a lot of experience now. Can you just do it on your own? And maybe we can assist, researchers can be as assistants just online, something like that. And they say, no, please, because students change every year, and their main motivation, their main drive to do the science projects is meeting a scientist. For them, that's the main, the surprising, the spectacular thing happening during this project. So we just can't do it. We always have to ask the scientists, okay, so no, you have to go to school and talk about your research and your experience and everything, because that's what they want. And also this one, you were very right about why. Why is my research important? What problem does it solve? That's also very interesting for them. So good work. And if I don't do research, I always try to remember there are some of you who don't work in research. What can you explain? Like I said, explain your work. You can talk about how is it for you a day in your work, what you do from 8 until 5 or whatever is your schedule. Also, if you work in a factory and you do product, you can talk about the life of the product. And then explain where you do intervene in this production, for example. And you can talk about the different profiles that exist in your factory. If you still have no situation, you can talk about that at the workshops that we will have, I think, the 1st of February, because you have a special situation, and I'm sure the other participants will be a lot of help for you. And again, what we're trying to do is to make visible all types of professionals related to science. So you also have to be aware that every time you speak, there are hidden messages in the language you're using, and that is science and scientists, social perception, and gender roles. This will also show in not only in the language you use, but in the images you show. That's part of the reason that we ask you to show a different side of yourself at the beginning, aside of you having fun showing what you like to do, because we want to break this image a little bit of what scientist is. And finally, we get to the science part. And your speech. You have to be aware of the elements that your speech will have to have, and you have to modulate and control. So what will it have? We have like this radar here that you can use to check that you're not missing any of the elements. Of course, you will have to choose your content. We will talk about it right away. You will have to prepare a journey for your audience. For example, Okay, Sarah, I will talk about the workshop at the end, and I will definitely answer your question. You have to, there's still someone coming in. You have to choose the content, the journey that you're going to take your audience to. For example, it is a very common one that you propose there's a problem. This is how we are trying to solve it. This is the experiment we're doing. This is the results we get. It's one of the possible journeys. You will have to choose the depth of the science that you want to explain. And of course, you have to be aware it has to be adapted to the level of the class. What examples you're going to talk about, you're going to show, what hook your presentation is going to have. We're going to talk extensively about this. How can you prepare a presentation with a hook? And related to that, also we want to emphasize very much, so we made a specific element here, humor and surprise. It's very good idea to surprise your audience at some point. You have to review the rhythm of your presentation, and that doesn't mean talking faster or slower, of course. Don't talk too fast, especially if you're going to do the presentation in English. Make sure you don't talk too fast for them to be able to understand, but also not so slow that they will fall asleep. So you have to be aware of that. But what we mean here is that you make it dynamic, so that they feel like time is passing very fast, but you don't need to be fast. So and finally, modulation. We're talking about intonation here. Like, you have to be aware that especially if you're Spanish and you're doing it in English, we have this tendency of always talking with the same tone and not modulating, whilst English speakers, they sing for us. They have a very different intonation from us. I think I have a question now. Okay, questions, thank you. So what do we have to modulate from these elements here? With what objective do we modulate these elements here? This is our objective, the attention curve. And what's the attention curve? I'm going to explain right now. When you start talking, you have your audience's attention, fully attention. They're all, they just sat there maybe, or they turn the Zoom on. You have their attention. But as you go on explaining, and you lose their attention, goes hopefully not that far low. And then when the talk is ending, when you're close to the end, their attention goes up again. You have them with you again. And why? Because probably they know this is finally ending. So, okay, 5 more minutes and let's go. But you are probably talking about the main points of your presentation, of you're doing a summary. So they say, oh yeah, last opportunity to take something from this talk. So we have them. But our goal will be to have these little mountains here, that every time you think your presentation, your audience might be losing interest, you do something to bring it back. And then you always assume that when you're explaining something, you will lose someone's attention, and then you do something to bring it back. Like when I am, the strategy I just used is I asked you a question. I did a poll because that made you do something, and then you can't come back to me. We're going to discuss now what tools you can use so that you have these nice speeches and that you arrive, that you hopefully never go below the tired line. One very simple strategies you can use is divide your presentation in different parts, because every time you change, they see like the okay, next segment, all blue, so she's going to change the subject. Some of them will come back. You can surprise them. We'll talk about this later, but just warning, you don't need jokes. No jokes necessary if you're not comfortable doing jokes. but you can use comedy nevertheless. And voice modulation, we insist on this one a little bit. So what tools can we use to achieve this? Scissors. That's the first tool we're going to talk about. And that you have to be aware what the main message is that you want to convey. For example, I did a PhD in a very complex subject and not very approachable for general public, which is molecular magnetism. But the main goal for my PhD was to synthesize molecules that behaved like magnets. I wanted that for memory in computers. Magnets are used for memory in computers, but my main message was that a week later at the school, the teacher would ask, what did Bea talk about? Oh, she wanted to do molecules that were like magnets. Perfect. They took, at least they took that from my presentation. And after you've chosen what your main message is, you start building a narrative, and everything else you put in your presentation has to work in this direction. What do they need to better understand this main message? And something that we recommend that you can do all through your presentation or in anything you do actually is to put yourself in your audience's shoes. Will they know this that I'm talking about? Is this too much? Maybe I could put some relief slide here, talk about something else, just reflect on it. And here I've put 3 videos talking about the same subject. This one, you see there's a stand here and everything. This is a scientific congress, a meeting, and he's talking about microwaves for, I think, an hour and a half, like top-notch technology in microwaves. A completely different code that we have to use, but there are other options. We can translate it. Of course, they don't explain the same, but this is a style message. Is the microwave safe? Is the excuse that Deborah here, she's a science communicator, uses to actually explain microwaves. She uses something they will recognize, which is the microwave. Everyone has a microwave, or nearly everyone. And here we have microwaves explained in 10 seconds. And since it's 10 seconds, we will see this one.
Microwaves are low-energy electromagnetic waves that, when absorbed, mainly cause molecules to jiggle, that is, heat up. Microwave ovens use microwaves to jiggle water and other molecules in food to heat it up.
So, very fast. Just a simple message here. So, like I was saying, once you've reduced to the essence, you can start building your narrative. And we come to the first exercise that you can prepare for the workshop, and that is write a short sentence about your work, as short as you can. Of course, whatever you need, but make it as short as you can. This is not for now. This is for next week. And we go to another of the tools we can use, which is stories and emotions. Can you find a personal story? If it's personal, better. That you can relate to your research, or maybe there's a famous story that everyone knows in your field and then can be translated to to your audience here. For example, if you happen to work on vaccines, you can always explain the story of how the first vaccine was originated. It's a story I'm thinking it here because it's this video. It's always better to tell a story than to list facts. So if you think you can explain, do your talk with a more story-like narrative, like I was saying before, like the first thing I did was finding there was this problem, and then we thought how we could research about it, what question did we have to put, and we thought this experiment might work. I mean, actions that one lead to the other, and then you have a result. Like I was saying, can you structure your talk as a story? We also recommend here, if you like stories about science, we recommend this podcast, Radio Lab. Each chapter is a different story, and you get to know a little bit about the research field that the story relates to. And also the Gene, a very, very recommendable book. It's about the story of genetics, but the author also explains the story of his family parallel to the study of genetics, which makes it easier to achieve one of the things we want to achieve by using stories is that, and that is making an emotional connection with your audience, identify the core stereotype. And learning will be more significant for students on whatever you're teaching them and you're talking to them about, because the message will be more personal. And I also like to talk about this book, Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. She was a scientist working at the Federal Environmental Office at the United States. And she wanted to raise awareness for a problem that was happening at that time, and that was that pesticides were not regulated at the time, especially DDT was used against the malaria insect. And she knew she had to do something to make the government regulate these pesticides. And what she chose to do is a book, an outreach book that she published, and she got her goal. At the end, pesticides were regulated. But what I wanted to talk about here is that she chose to write her first chapter in the one where she's explaining the problematic that we have to face as a fable. And it begins like this. This is literally taken from the first chapter. There was once a town in the heart of America where all life seemed to live in harmony with its surroundings. Then a strange blight crept over the area and everything began. That's how a book about science begins. And it was a very successful book. So next thing you can do is write ideas about stories you might explain during your talk. More tools. I've already commented on this, I think, but it's important to know what they know. They are not tabula rasa. They know things. They know things because they've studied them at school. They will know about climate change. They will know about coronavirus. They will know about cancer. They have notions about things that occur in their real life, everyday life, and on what they've studied. So what do I recommend here? Ask the teacher, will they know about this? And you can also use the questions here. And I mean, you can ask, do you know what climate change is? And I mean, I wouldn't bet something very expensive that I don't like betting, but you will get an answer for sure. And once you know, once you get the answer, you can start building your explanation from there. You can make reference, since you knew this, then I will explain this. And related to that too is participation, the questions, what we were talking about. You can also ask for opinion, because sometimes there are ethical things also. You can do a small quiz. We were talking about this before. Just be aware of the possible technical issues and the possible chaos at class. But again, if the teacher said, no, we're very used to that, then it's an option for you. And you can use online tools. And we recommend not ask a question like to the whole class and expect for them to like answer in order. Ask them to raise hands or give the floor, like, oh, this one with the white shirt or something like that, because you will avoid chaos. Also very important, language. Don't underestimate them, don't overestimate them, but definitely adapt the language. I'm sure you will be able to detect which words they won't understand. If you're going to talk about epigenetics, for example, you have to say the word because it's there, but explain it. And then, I mean, once you've explained it, you can say it again. But I'm not saying avoid all sciencey or technical words, but if you really need to say a word, then make sure you explain it. And like I was saying, use less tables and graphs or nanotools. And now I want to show you this example. This is a video of a scientist talking to in 5 different levels of difficulty, of 5 different levels of complexity, maybe I could say. First one talking to a child, then to a teen, then a college student, then a grad student, then an expert. I want to show you a child how he adapts his language and the way he explains nanotechnology to that.
Bella, I'm George. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I'm a research scientist. Do you like science?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about a specific type of science called nanotechnology. Have you ever heard of this word before? Nano's kind of a funny word, right? It's a word that's used before another word, and it means 1 billion. What's the smallest object you can think of?
A baby ant?
A baby ant? Very good. So I have over here a meter stick. Let me show it to you. And so that's a meter, and if I divide it by 1,000, I get a millimeter. So milli just means 1,000. There's all these little lines on the ruler, and each of those little lines is 1 millimeter. So baby ant is probably a couple of millimeters. So even the thing that's the smallest thing you can think of, it's 1,000,000 times bigger than a nanometer. Tiny, tiny, tiny.
Tiny, 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 tiny.
If I took this stick...
Okay, so trying to explain how small a nanometer is very, very difficult, and very, very difficult for a little child like her. But what he does is he asks her, what's the tiniest thing you can think of? And she gives the answer, a baby ant, and he elaborates from her answer. And he uses the ruler, because this is something she will know, the ruler. And at the end, you see that the main message he wanted to pass to her is very, very tiny, tiny, tiny. And she gets that message. So next thing you can do is review the sentence you've written and see if the language is the most appropriate for, the most suited for your audience. And also, now that you're aware of that, then be sure to use this kind of language from now on. What else can we do? We can use relations. We can use things they will know to attract their interest. And this will surprise them also if you use pop references or something they will know, like we were using the microwave before, the coronavirus, climate change. And as for pop references, you can use The Simpsons. It usually works. Harry Potter still works between children now. Any superheroes that are on right now. But don't go to, I mean, they might not know Lord of the Rings, maybe, or more geeky things. You can ask the teacher, but the teacher can also tell you, I don't really know, because someone might be into it. So I would go for broader general references here, but this will surprise them and they will go like, what? Oh, Simpsons here. So this will bring them back to the presentation. You can use comparisons and metaphors. They are very useful to explain complex scientific concepts. Like, for example, a very widely used one is that DNA is like the instructions book for humans. Another one I like very much is the cosmic calendar that represents the history of the universe as a calendar. 1 year, 1st of January is the Big Bang, and we humans appear like at the last hour of the last day. That gives us an idea of how little time it is that we've been in the universe. Also, they have to be robust and don't stretch them. I mean, don't go use them once. Maybe it goes for it works for something else you can explain, but don't stretch them because they won't resist much stressing. So next thing you can do, I didn't say that, but you have a summary of these instructions. I will give you at the end. So don't worry, you don't have to write down everything. List metaphors you can use and things you can use of the everyday life in your presentation. What more can we, these last two, are interdisciplinarity. Can you use any music, art, or something you can introduce in your talk? Hybridization works very well with science. it adds beauty. And talking about beauty, beauty is another one of the tools you can use. Make it beautiful. And for example, maybe you look through the microscope and you see something beautiful, and maybe you're not actually thinking about putting this image, but if it's beautiful, then share it with them, because it only adds. Like Richard Feynman says, science, in the wonder of nature of science, always adds up, never subtracts. That same for beauty, it only adds. And finally, you can use surprise. And with surprise here, I'm meaning comedy. And it can be an image, it can be a video that you share with them. For example, I recommend you afterwards to check out this video. It's a comedian. This is really a comedian, but you can be aware of the timing he uses to make his audience laugh. And he doesn't say anything. That's the first thing he says. I'm not going to say anything, but he says a lot of things of how he's communicating with his audience. I will leave it for you to review it later, and I will explain the deductive proposal very quickly of what the schools are going to do. Like Nuria said, the first thing they're going to do, and this is not on the 11th, they're going to see the video of the Hypatia crew. And at this point, this is a group of scientists that are going to simulate a voyage to Mars. And one of them is a journalist. And we're going to make them reflect on why there's a journalist here in this voyage. And this is exactly what we're going to ask from them. We're going to ask them to become the journalist of your visit. And we ask them to prepare a chronicle of your visit or talk. And the first thing they will do is they will imagine how you're going to be. And then we will ask them at the end, okay, how was it? How was she? We're going to ask them to give some adjectives. And at the end, we'll see if the adjectives change after your visit. The first thing, I think Nuria was explaining that they are asking you to send a video talking a little bit, presenting yourself. And they will also, Google you, I suppose, and see where you work and prepare some questions for you. There's a specific team prepared. There will be, so that they don't ask you something that you've already said. We hope it works. They have this assignment. And during your talk, they will divide in groups, and one of them will be in charge of the scientific profile. One of them is your research field, specific research, problematic it addresses, work environment. Some will choose the title of the chronicle, the graphic documentation, questions. Again, you can talk about this with the teacher before so that you're aware of what they're going to do. This is a proposal for the teachers. It's not sure that they will have these groups. They can choose what groups they want to form. And after the talk, they will also choose the format of the chronicle. And they can do a blog article, podcast, radio, video, infographic. They have many options. Whatever suits them better, they will choose. And finally, I'm going to explain how the workshop next, the 1st of February is going to be like. So you will be divided in groups of 8 participants. I don't know how many you're subscribed for the English one. Maybe it's not 8, maybe it's 7 or 6. And you will have 5 minutes to talk about your research and what you're going to explain to the students. Of course, you have 5 minutes. You don't have a whole hour, so you can. And also, if you don't have a presentation yet prepared, don't worry. If you have it, share it, and we will comment on that. It's just you present yourself. I do this. I work on this. My research is this, and I'm going to talk to them about. And maybe you will say, I'm planning to use this metaphor to explain this. I'm planning to use this reference, so you can explain to us how you're going to prepare your presentation, because be aware we will only give you 5 minutes to speak. And then we will comment on your presentation with the other participants. They will be the main participants of the workshop. We will facilitate. There will be facilitators, but you will work together with each other. You will get a feedback, and you will get some ideas, hopefully, about things you can do with the students. So I leave here before I will go back to this part of the presentation next Monday, and we will, so that you're aware of, because I will ask you, okay, write up whatever comes to your mind from what she's explained. And you will have to be aware of content, journey, depth, examples, hook. I give it, you will receive this presentation today or tomorrow, so you will have this. And here I will put a summary of the different tools that I've talked about today, and try to use as many as you can. I mean, if you maybe you can find something that you can work with and use it afterwards. I mean, you don't have to use it if you're not comfortable with it in the end, but it's a good exercise to look for it. And you have to hear some recommendations so you can review afterwards. Okay, so I'm nearly there. I know it's nearly time, but if you have any questions, we can go back to some of the questions that were before, or some new questions. Thank you, Nuria. What's the time for the? Oh, sorry, I was saying the wrong date all the time. It's Tuesday. It's going to be 10 in the morning. I only know that because all the workshops start at 10, and I think the one on Monday it's 1:30, but this one is in Catalan. You showed us a template for the presentation before. Will it be shared? Yes, you have it in the website. You will have it as one of the materials for the scientists. You can download it. I haven't received the invitation Zoom link for the next workshop. Hopefully, yeah. I hope you will have it. Yes. I don't do it, so I just can only hope that they will send it. How are we going to have access to this presentation? It will be, I mean, I know when you register to the webpage of Científicas, there's a specific site for you, and all the materials will be there. So you will find it there. I also have not received the link. You will. If you have any question that I'm not answering here because it's more the coordination question, you can always write to the info at cientificas.cat that Nuria talked before. Nuria shared before. Okay. Yeah, some of you have to go. I hope you can go through the tools that we've discussed and maybe dare to use one of the tools in your presentation. Okay, thank you, Ashley. Thank you. I will stay here just 1 or 2 minutes more. Thank you, Emma. There's the 40. Thank you, all of you. Thank you. And maybe we'll see each other next Tuesday. So count of participants is going drastically down. I will wait another minute to let you say goodbye to the ones still here. I think I can stop sharing the screen right now. Promise you will go, I will go directly to send the presentation. Do I have a LinkedIn? Yes, I have a LinkedIn. If you want to find me, I think best thing is just my name, Beatriz Cordero, and I work at Eduscopi with E-D-U-D, old Maramela. I'm not very good at this. Okay, I will write it here. It's written like this. Sure, you will find me very easily this way. I'm not very active. This is something in science communication, at least on my side, LinkedIn is not a main tool we use to communicate science, but I check it every now and then. So, and it's, I'm not, I hope you can solve any technical questions you have with the organization. Okay, so I have a question. I received the invitation for the taller from BIST Communication, not from Científicas. Yeah, it should be the same because BIST is one of the organizers. Oh, so yeah, you might check for an email from BIST instead of Científicas. Hi, me and my friend are going to present together, so we do have to present together also in the workshop. Yeah, you can talk about how you're going to do it. Yeah, no problem. How you're going to divide the presentation. This way you can both participate and take ideas and everything. Just be sure to say that, I mean, if you're in different computers, because you will have to be in the same room because we will be divided in rooms. Just make sure the person dividing the rooms knows that. Okay, so we're around 10 participants now. So I'm going to close the session because I have to stop the recording. If not, it will be 10 minutes of me just rambling at the end. So thank you. Thanks a lot for everyone who's still here. And hopefully we will see each other next week at the workshop. Bye. Have a nice day.